All right, hi guys. What's up? Welcome to our Thursday night sip and sew. I'm Kelsey. Getting a few more things straightened up over here. How's everyone doing this evening? We are back for another sew along. So my first sew along was the Make a Dream Bag sew along. Sew along being like when you actually can do a project with me, whether you're doing it live or if you are watching this again later. Welcome. Hi, Carol, Robin, Sue. What's up, guys? Evelyn, good to see you. I'm looking forward to this evening. We're going to be working on English paper piecing some little hexies. So I did two little ones right before we started using two different methods. So I am going to go over, there is both a glue method and like a thread basting method to get your hexagons paper pieced. I'll go over both of them. However, glue is my preferred method, so I'll be doing that for most of this project, but I wanted to make sure I show you guys. Hi, Judy and Elaine, Peggy. Robin, the rain in Fort Thomas, the rain here has been crazy today, like raining cats and dogs nonstop. And like an hour ago, I was getting everything ready and I thought, oh, darn, I forgot my iPad up at the shop and it was just raining buckets outside. And I didn't want to go up, and right as I was getting ready to leave, it stopped. So hopefully it is over, at least for the time being. Hi, Monica, Christine, Cindy. Hey guys. Okay, so today what we're going to be working on is this Hexi Pillow project, and what this is it uses English paper piecing for all these hexagons. However, the one thing it doesn't do is it doesn't sew all the hexagons together. So we're not going to actually be piecing our hexagons together. We're going to be gluing them onto our pillow top and then quilting a quilt sandwich for the top of our pillow. We'll go through a little bit of the quilting today, but that part just is time consuming and repetitive, so I probably won't quilt the whole thing with you. My main focus is going to be the English paper piecing portion. Say that 5 times fast. Hi, Debbie and Lynn, Jane. Hey, guys. So what you're going to need for, if you're going to do this project, there's a list of materials. However, if you just want to learn English paper piecing, all you need are 1-inch hexagon papers. We sell them in packs of 100 at the shop if you don't already have some. And then small scraps of fabric. So 2.5-inch squares are perfect, mini charms or scraps or whatever. And then if you're going to do the glue method, you'll need like a water-soluble glue pen. You could also use just like a craft glue stick. I just like to use the Sew Line or the Fons and Porter glue pen. And then if you're going to be thread basting it, you'll need a needle and thread. But like I said, I like the glue method more, so I'm going to mainly be using my Sew Line glue pen. And then if you're making this pillow, you will also need a yard of fabric. So if you saw my post earlier today, if you're wanting to make the pillow with me, I have already cut out that 1 yard of fabric into the 4 pieces that you need to create the body of the pillow. So if you haven't done that already and you want to sew the project with me today, go ahead and cut that out. The instructions are on page 4. So you need 2 20-inch squares and then 2 20 by 15-inch rectangles. Hi, Angie and Kathy. Thanks for joining tonight. So you'll need that 1 yard of fabric as well as the paper and the mini charms. And then you'll also need permanent glue. I'm using liquid stitch. So we're actually securing these. I wanted to test it out ahead of time. And we're going to permanently glue these hexagons onto our background, which will be our pillow top, and then we're quilting it after that. But this is like very strong glue. I've never used it before. I'm very impressed. It's called liquid stitch, so it better hold in place as though it's stitched, and it seems like it does. So we have that. And then if you're wanting to quilt, you will also need a friction pen or some kind of fabric temporary fabric marking pen to mark your lines, and then a ruler to mark the lines with as well. And that's it. And I even posted this morning and I thought I'm going to forget the wax paper for underneath my project because the glue seeps through the fabric just a little bit, and I did forget it. So I have just like a pretty crappy tabletop here, so I'm going to take my nice cutting mat off and just glue on top of that, and we'll see how it goes. But if you can, grab a piece of parchment or wax paper so that you, when we get to the gluing part, when the glue seeps through the fabric, it doesn't get onto your surface. Hi, Judy. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so let me know if you are sewing along with me tonight and if you're just English paper piecing or if you are making the pillow with me. I'd love to see. I'm going to go ahead and do this. So you guys can see my surface here. So these are all my supplies. I have my mini charm and then all of my like supplies over here. One thing I wanted to say about these papers is it's a little easier to get the papers out because you don't leave the papers in when you're done. So you'll be taking them out like this one. It's a little bit easier to take them out if you have a hole punch in it. That way you can like reach through and grab. So I just have like a really old hole punch here. If you don't have a single hole punch, you might have like a 3-hole punch and just use one of those holes to punch through these papers. So that's a little tip for you guys. It's really quick. You can do them like lots at a time. Just make sure you're doing it over a trash can or something so that those little holes don't go all over the place. Okay, so this is the pattern that we're using. So I think it just starts us off with the cutting of the fabric and then the basting of the hexes. So I didn't notice until like today when I didn't have enough time to watch it that in this pattern they actually have links to a lot of different YouTube videos for like each step of this project. So I haven't had a chance to check that out. I don't know what those videos are like, but I'm sure they're good. If you guys wanted to see how they do it, you could do that as well. But I'm going to show you glue basting and thread basting, and I really like the glue basting, and I'll show you why. I've experimented a little bit with the thread, and I don't love it. It seems like there's a lot of extra steps than with the glue, and it doesn't hold as well. That's just my opinion, but I'll show you both of them, and then you guys can decide which method you want to use. And then we'll make all of those. Maria, you're gonna paper piece with me? Awesome. Okay, so let's head over to this workspace. And I'm gonna grab 2 different, I think it calls for 41, 2.5-inch squares. And so that's almost the whole mini charm. Mini charms are 42 pieces. And so I'm gonna be using all of these squares. Okay, I also, just so you know, have a little mini iron off to the side that I'm going to be using as well to press my hexes, because I just find that helps them stay formed before you glue them down. So this is the one that I did with thread basting, and what I didn't realize is you actually do take the thread out before you use the hexagon. And so as soon as I took that thread out, no matter how much I press it, it just wants to come undone. And so that is one of the reasons I don't love the thread basting. Also, the sewing just takes a little bit longer than the glue. And then you have to take it out. So those are the reasons that gluing is my favorite. So I'll show you guys the glue first, but then I'll also show you guys the stitching just in case you like it. So for this, all you need is a paper and a little fabric scrap. And I'm doing this on my rotating cutting mat. And then I'm just going to grab my mini rotary cutter as well. So here is, let me just put that aside real quick. So here's I'm going to center this as best I can, but it doesn't need to be exact on my square. And then just because there's a lot of excess here, I'm going to just trim off these corners. You don't want to get too close to the edge. You want to stay a little more than 1/4 inch away, but also you don't need to be very precise. So just like you can see, I just wanted to take away the excess. I'm not trying to make it precise. And what I'll probably do is do multiple of those at the same time so that step takes less time. Okay, now I'll grab my glue pen. And all I'm going to do, guys, I learned how to do this and I thought this is so much easier than I thought it would be. I just draw a little line of glue across the top of my paper and I fold it over and press it down. And as I keep pressing, waiting for it to dry, I do this next one. And you want to make sure that these corners, that you keep this edge folded in as you fold over this corner. So you're making those sharp turns here. Just do that again. Keep folding it over. Around all of the edges. And I'm going a little bit on the fabric too, so straight across the top on the fabric and the paper. Okay, and this last one's going to have a little bit of fabric on both sides, and you're just going to fold it over and press. And this glue sticks really nicely. So that's what it looks like on the back, and this is what it looks like on the front. And I mean, that's literally all it is, you guys. It's so much easier than I thought it would be. I thought about getting a lot of these out of the way before the live today, but then I thought if people are watching with me, then I'll be so ahead of them, and I don't know if I want to do that. So anyways, I am going to go through all 40 of these tonight if you want to make your little hexies with me. I don't want to be alone. So that's all there is. We are going to be taking the paper out, but I'll wait. And I'll just keep making more. But first, I'll show you guys the stitching method with the thread basting. So this one, I'm going to center this on here, trim off my corners. And then you are going to have to pin. I literally picked up a pin. Oh, here it is. I was like, where did it go? You are going to have to pin your hexagon down. I'm using a really fine pin with a small head. And then you're going to get just your favorite needle and thread. And I'm putting a quilter's knot in the end of it, and I'm not double threading it. It's just one strand of thread. Sometimes I tie the two ends together to make it doubly as strong. I'm not going to do that this time. I really only do that when I'm like binding or something. Okay, so a few things that I learned to be careful of doing this method. First of all, you have the added step of having to pin it, which isn't my favorite. I like things to feel like they're going quickly, and that just feels like it's slowing me down. And then you have to fold this over and just kind of finger press it in place. And then you want to fold the next one over. And we're going to take a stitch in this corner here. Let me actually zoom in. You're going to take a little stitch here in this corner, making sure that you don't get any of the paper. Okay, and then we're going to keep it, make sure that the fabric is still folded along the edge of the paper. Fold it over again. And then, oh, I forgot actually, you want to go back through here to like hold that corner down. Sorry. Okay, then move on to the next one. I don't do this one as often, so I'm not an expert on it. So if this is your preferred method, I'm sure you have a reason. But I feel like it takes a lot longer. And sometimes it feels like it's coming undone all the time as well. And you don't want to like make your stitches too permanent because you're going to take them out eventually. I don't know if you always take your stitches out, but this pillow pattern does say to take out your basting stitches. So I guess you could leave them in depending on if they were going to show or not, which they're not supposed to show. So I feel like you could just leave them in. But you want to make sure that you're not pulling too tight to like warp the hexagon, which is kind of hard because with the glue, you're keeping it flat the whole time. But with this, when you're holding it, it's a little harder to ensure this. Elaine, we sell this cutting mat at our shop at Just Sew. Here, let me put the link up here for you. So justsewstudio.com. This is a thing for our subscriptions, but you can just go to justsewstudio.com and type in like rotating cutting mat or something like that, and we have a 14-inch one and an 8-inch one. And I like the mini one for this small project. It's very helpful, especially if you're gluing. Okay, so this last one, here, just make sure you get a nice crease in that. Make sure that this whole time you're not getting any papers in here. Okay, and I'm going to do a little bit of a knot just so it doesn't come undone right away, but not a very like precise one. Okay. And I can take my pin out. So now they both basically look the same now, but the process of taking the paper out is a little different for each one. So I'll show you both of them right now, and then you can decide which one you want to do for the rest of your project. Elaine, I haven't been paper piecing very long, but I did a really big project with these where you see this bag of papers. I made like 800 of these little hexes using the glue basting method. And I really liked it. And I thought it went really well. I like how, one thing about the thread is it is kind of like a hand sewing project. So if you like hand sewing, that would be a reason that I would like the thread method. Because the glue doesn't have any sewing involved until you want to put the hexagons together or quilt it onto a background or something like that. Okay, so here's the process of taking the paper out of the thread basted one. It's really just you want to pull the paper out using this hole that we created. So then your hexagon is still formed, and I'm going to take it over to my mat and just give it a press. Okay, so I just pressed it, and there you go. So it looks great, but if you take those, the basting out, it starts to like just come loose around all the edges. So I feel like I'm going to get really annoyed with that. So I'm going to leave the stitches in this time. But the glue, the issue with the glue is that you need to just loosen it a little bit around all the edges, which isn't very hard. And then you're going to take that out, that paper, and you just want to make sure that you have all of like this piece right here has a little bit of glue still stuck there. But what I found is because you're gluing the fabric to itself, it actually doesn't, let me just press it real quick and you'll see, it doesn't actually like lose its shape like the thread basting one does. So that's one reason, you want to make sure that you get the glue on the actual fabric itself as you're folding it around all of the corners. So you can be a little bit, I mean, you still want to be kind of careful, but you can be a little bit messier with the glue. So I just gave that a quick press, and like these corners are still glued to each other. So it won't come out. Okay, so I have those 3 done. Only like what, 38 to go. And then also these papers, depending on how much you abuse them, you could reuse them if you wanted to. This is already the 3rd time I'm reusing them, so I'm probably going to throw them away after tonight, but These are all ones I've used before. You can tell they're a little messy still, but it still works. So hopefully you guys can see that the glue is a little bit faster, but there might be other people out there who have a better method than I do. I did watch multiple people's videos on YouTube when I was learning this, and it seems to be the way that they all do it, but maybe there's someone who's figured out an easier way. I'm just going to roughly trim the corners off of a whole stack of mini charms to get this out of the way. Again, super messy and unprecise, because I don't like it when I have to be precise about things that don't actually matter, and that doesn't actually matter. When it matters, I will be precise. Okay. Yes, Elaine. So all of the products that we're using tonight, the glue pen, the papers, the mini charms, the ruler, like everything that I have, even like the liquid stitch and the pattern for the pillow, all of this is available on our website. We sold a lot of it a couple weeks ago when we announced that we were doing this sew along. So hopefully some of you guys out there already have the supplies. But we have, I know for sure we have leftover glue pens, at least one of these mini mats. And I think I need more patterns. Also, this makes an 18-inch pillow. Or wait, maybe it's a 19-inch pillow. It was a weird size. Like the finished size is kind of strange. I'm going to wait to take all the papers out at once. So I'm just going to like bust through these. What size pillow does this make? Yeah, it's a 19-inch pillow, and we can't get a 19-inch pillow form. So I got a 20-inch pillow form instead because I thought I'd rather it be like tight and fluffy than like really loose around the edges if we got like an 18-inch pillow form. So anyways, I have an extra 20-inch pillow form if anyone wants it. It's pickup only. But if you're local and you want a 20-inch pillow form, let me know. I have an extra. So this fabric print is a little owl, and it's too big to kind of get the gist of here. Gets its little head cut off, but that's all right. We have a lot of prints in here that are really good for these small pieces. So that's one thing to look for when you're looking for what fabric to do with this, is obviously your pieces are going to be really small, so you don't want a lot of fabric that uses really big designs. You want to make sure that it's a little bit smaller. I know for sure that Sweetwater always has really small prints in their collections. Other designers, it kind of just depends. They have usually a mixture. Robin Pickens usually has really big ones. So hopefully you can see why I suggested this rotating cutting mat. It's not technically necessary, but I just find it a lot more easy when I can rotate this around. And if you already have the big one and you're like, oh, I can do this with the big one, you can try. But I did try that as well, and I decided I had to also get the small one, because if you think about it, if you're like on the edge of your mat and you're rotating it, it's going like all the way around. And so if this is 14 inches, it's like all the way around the table from you by the time you get over there. So you need it in the middle anyways, and then it's just, you have a lot more to like rotate around. So I thought one size rotating cutting mat is plenty, but I actually have had found different uses for those that are actually a lot nicer to have the two different sizes. So we do carry both those sizes depending on what you guys need. Hey Karen, welcome. I don't know if you're sewing along with me tonight or if you're just watching, but all I'm doing is glue basting, I guess that's what you would call it, all of my Hexis. So I'm using my water-soluble glue pen, my paper 1-inch hexagons, and my mini charm pieces. And I am just gluing them all the way around to create these cute little hexagons. Ready for another stack of these. I have, if you didn't see earlier, I have a bag of like 800 of these papers from another project that I did. So you can reuse these. We sell them in packs of 100, so that seems to be plenty for lots of projects. But if you need more, you could just make 100 and then reuse those papers to make the rest, or whatever you want to do with that. I have wondered if there's a type of material that you can make these papers out of that would be like stiff enough to do English paper piecing, but like soluble of some kind, like it might dissolve in water or something like that, so you don't have to take the papers out. I'm curious about that. I haven't discovered that yet, if it exists. Or it's just maybe more flexible, so you can't tell as, more like an interfacing. You can't tell as much if you leave the paper in, because the taking the paper out part is the part I don't like. Yes, so I'm leaving a little more than 1/4 of an inch, Karen. I'm just roughly eyeballing like a little more than 1/4 inch all the way around the hexagon and cutting those, trimming those corners off. So when you do the glue, I would be a little bit more heavy on the fabric part than on the paper part. The paper part is just to temporarily tack it in place, but the fabric, it's helpful if that you glue the fabric to itself. If you saw earlier when I was taking the papers out, you want those, like these corners of fabric to stay stuck to each other, but you're going to be loosening the fabric from the glue connecting it to the paper. So if you want to emphasize, how did I have this? I had it like this. Emphasize the glue on the fabric side, then that might be helpful. Okay. Oh yes, Karen, that would be so beautiful. So here's all the ones I have done so far. I think I've done all the pinks and yellows. Moving on to the whites and grays. I like to do it by color just because when I'm doing something repetitive, I like to have some way of knowing I'm like breaking it up a little bit. So I'll do like a color at a time of the mini charm. Oh, this is. So let's do the grays next. Got a big old stack of fabric here. That's probably more than I should do, but I'm really not caring about how precise this cut is going to be. That one's a really pretty design. British YouTuber. Hexy form. Okay, Maria, are you talking about the like papers that you can leave in there? If so, I need to look into that. Hexy form, a British YouTuber. Emma Jones vintage sewing box. Oh, I will definitely have to look into that because that would make me like this process even more. I already do enjoy this process, but like I said, it's the taking the papers out part that I don't like. A folding flower. That's cool too. Robin, I have never cut my finger on a rotary cutter that I can think of. But you know what I did do right before this? If you can see this dot right here on my thumb, I pinched it on my tripod that's holding my camera, and it hurt so bad. Oh my gosh, I almost started crying. It hurt so bad. And it's just like built up this little blood blister right there. Whew, not fun. So Elaine, these squares are 2.5 inches already. They're a mini charm, so it's a stack like this that's already cut into 2.5 inch squares. But then I'm just being really imprecise in how I trim off the corners for the hexy part. So you just need like, these are 1-inch hexes for 2.5 inch squares. And I think you wouldn't want to go smaller than that because while there is some excess in the corners, around the edges, there's really not a lot of excess. So if you're making 1-inch hexagons, you'll want at least 2.5 inch, probably exactly 2.5 inch squares, because like you can see, if it's any bigger, then it might be too big. So I think this is the perfect size to pair together. But that would change depending on what size paper you're using. So if you go up or down at all, that might change. But it seems like 1 inch is pretty standard in a lot of projects. And there's also lots of other shapes that you can use with English paper piecing, but I haven't done that yet. I've only ever done hexagons. I feel like it's the one I'm the most drawn to and the way that I would, use it the most. So that's why it's mostly what I have been using. Yeah, Marie, that's what I figured. If there was a solution like that, it must not be as stiff as paper. So I'd like to try it to see if it does make it better or if it's like harder to work with. Okay, and then tonight, as far as we'll probably get on this project is making all of our hexagons here. I'm about halfway through now. And then gluing them onto your background fabric and drawing gluing them onto your background fabric with the permanent glue, and then drawing your quilting lines on it, and then I'll probably quilt it off camera. And as I make the pillow, if I find any tips or anything like that in making the actual pillowcase itself, I will let you guys know in the Just Sew Along Facebook group. I'll post a picture of it finished and let you know if I ran into anything. One thing I did want to show you real quick, because I know some of you guys might not want to watch me just make all these hexies all night. I wanted to show you. This is a sip and sew. So I hope you have a drink. I have mine. Sometimes I talk so much though that I don't have a chance to get some of my drink. So this is my 20-inch square that I'm going to be gluing my hexies onto. I have another 20-inch square for the lining, and I have the piece of batting that's a little bit bigger than my fabric. But for my 15 by 20-inch rectangles for the back of the pillow, I am using a contrasting fabric. So this is actually the color of my couch, which is why I chose this mini charm. And I didn't want my pillow to get like blue fuzz all over it. It doesn't like fuzz a lot, but every now and then there's just like the blue fibers that will get on things. So I didn't want to get that on a white pillow. So I made the back of it the same color as my couch. And then the top of it, this is like an off-white kind of grayish color that coordinates really well with this fabric as well. So that's just something to keep in mind. as you think about what fabric you want to use as your background. If you got the kit from us, you would have just gotten like a yard of plain white. So if you don't want to use that, maybe you have something else in your stash and you can use the white another time, or you can just go ahead and use the white. I think the white looks really good. Just depends on where you want to use it and what mini charm you're using. If you want your quilt to look a little bit more like the pattern, or did I say quilt? If you want your pillow to look a little bit more like the pattern, you could use a thatched mini charm, which is just a mini charm of thatched fabric that looks, so if you put it together, it might look a little bit more rainbowy. So that could be fun too. Did I answer all these questions? Awakening, Hexi form. Okay, 2 of you guys said Hexi form. Good to know. Also, I want to check out, Vanessa, your folding flower. That's cool. I would love to do more English paper piecing projects, but I think my next thing that I want to learn is foundation paper piecing. My mom's been doing that a ton. She made half of the samples for the super cute paper piecing subscription that we did. It just finished. But she made lots of those samples and had so much fun. And there's also a video on our YouTube channel if you want to learn how to foundation paper piece. The two are pretty drastically different, English paper piecing and foundation paper piecing. So I would suggest, if you're interested in this, that you might like foundation. But I haven't tried it yet. And also the wedding quilt that she's making me is a foundation paper piece project. And so I help her tear all of her papers out when she's done, but I haven't actually done the like paper piecing sewing part of it. So Elaine, so I mean, okay, if I'm being honest, I didn't actually finish it. I had all of these high aspirations. I was going to hand quilt it, which is why it's not done. And the quilting is what would be holding the papers or the hexes in place, because I didn't piece them all together. Like, oh, this one's not done very well. Let me undo that. I didn't, so if you wanted to piece these together, what you would do is you would put these like right sides together, and then you would whip stitch this edge here, and then you would open it up, and then you would have like your whole flower made. Or if you're just endlessly putting them together, then you would do that as well. But I was going to make mine so that they're all spaced apart, and I was going to hand stitch around each one. You know how that goes when you think you're going to hand stitch a whole quilt and then you don't. So that's where I'm at with that. But it took me, I did not do this one very well. I don't know, like a couple months maybe to make like 800 hexagons. So what I did with that was I used a jelly roll. And the jelly roll gave me 10 times the amount of fabric that is in a mini charm. Something like that. And so I just did as many hexagons that the jelly roll would allow me, and it was about 800. So it was a lot. I cut my jelly roll roughly into 2.5-inch squares, and then I just did what I'm doing here with you guys. Yeah, Nancy, I would love to do that as a Thursday night project. Once I learn. Unless my mom wants to do one night, she could foundation paper piece with you guys making my quilt and just show you guys the steps. We do have a lot of the material, like we have the foundation paper, which you would print your pattern out on. We have the little roller, which helps you like roll press all of your stuff down. We have the add 1/4-inch rulers that you need, all that kind of stuff. And then we have the book called Super Cute Paper Piecing. And then we actually have extra kits from that as well. So they're like little bags and stuff like that use foundation paper piecing. And we have some extra kits of it if you guys are interested. So maybe we will do that. I'll talk her into doing a Thursday night sip and sew sometime. it'll help her get some more blocks done of my wedding quilt too. That's going to take her a long time. A lady at the quilt store I go to made a purse with those and hand sew them together. Yes. So these, the way that you would sew them together is by hand, which you would have to like that. Which I do love having a hand project. So this might be really silly, but I'm getting married soon, and so I'm planning my wedding. But in thinking about the honeymoon, we're going to Punta Cana in the Dominican to a resort, fancy pants resort. I've never been to anything like that before, so I'm excited. But, you know, my fiance told me you can't bring any work. And usually when I go on vacation, I take like my computer, I'll make like kits on our inventory, I'll work on our social media, I'll like, I don't even know, I'll plan out the next block of the month, whatever it is that I can do while I'm not at the shop, I'll do while I'm on vacation. But I knew like, oh yeah, duh, of course I won't work on my honeymoon, like no way. And then the more I think about it, I'm like, I don't know the last time I went on vacation and didn't work while I was on vacation. I mean, like, I would have a relaxing vacation, but like an hour for like a couple days of the vacation would be spent working. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know what, I forget what that's like. And I mean, it's only been like 4 years, but we go on vacations like a couple times a year maybe, or maybe not even vacations, but just like trips for one reason or another. And I always bring work with me. So I'm like, it's going to be so hard to go away for a week and not work on anything. But I thought I might want a hand project to work on. I mean, we're going to be like, I mean, they have activities at the resort, like dance lessons and scuba diving and whatever. But I feel like I'm not a huge beach bum, so there's only going to be so much of the beach that I can take. So I was like, maybe, I mean, if we want to watch a show or like anything like that, I feel like my hands will want to be busy with something. So I'm trying to figure out what hand project to take. And I thought about my English paper piecing quilt that I started. Oh, I need more papers. I need to cut more holes. So I have all my papers that don't have holes in them. I'm just going to go punch a couple more holes real quick with this crazy old-fashioned hole punch. But I thought I could work on basting that quilt, you know, and I think I even basted every single hexagon into place on the background, and I just haven't quilted it. So I thought about getting that out and seeing if I wanted to pack a giant quilt in my check bag and do some hand quilting. Maybe that's just too I put too many in here this time. All right. Maybe I just think I'll have time for that and I won't actually. But I'd rather bring something and like, oh, I didn't get a chance to work on it than like be bored while I'm there. So might have to do that. Sounds like he's a wide man. Wise, yeah. So Mary Ellen, I showed that a little bit at the beginning, how you get the papers out. I'll show you again once I get all these done. You just want to loosen the glue. It's not that hard to loosen. I just stick like the dull side of my seam ripper like through here to loosen it, and then I just reach through that hole and pull it out. But that's also why I'm making sure I'm getting glue on the fabric edge right here, so that at least the corners of this fabric will stay glued together even when I rip, like loosen the glue off from the paper. If that makes sense. Oh, Maria, you could also use the steam from your iron. Great idea. Vanessa, why do we punch a hole? So it just makes it easier to like put something in. I honestly would rather to not use my seam ripper, but I can't find my purple thing anywhere. If you have a purple thing, make sure you use that. I think that's easier. But you'll just like grab your fabric on this side and stick this through the hole, and once your glue is loosened, it'll be easier to pull it out. I didn't do that last time with my last project, and I wish I had. You could try it both ways just so you can see. But, you know, if I don't get ambitious enough to take that quilt, I'll probably just bring a little hand embroidery project, because those are easy to pack, not a huge deal if I don't get to it, and a little something to keep my hands busy. On the beach, like, I mean, I'll bring a book, but I'm excited for the resort part, but I'm not a huge beach person. I like walking on the beach. I don't mind getting in the water, but I don't like just laying on the sand. So, but Matt doesn't really either, so I don't think we'll do a lot of that. But he really wants to go scuba diving, and I'm terrified of like the deep ocean. Like, I can't even watch documentaries on the ocean. It freaks me out so bad. It's given me so many nightmares. So I don't think I want to go scuba diving, but I'll go snorkeling because that's a lot more shallow. Have any of you guys ever done any cool like water excursions like that? On my friend's honeymoon, they had like kayaking into these like caves where it was like all illuminated and the water was like, looked like it was lit up. Like, it was crazy. It looks so cool. Okay. I'd say we have about a third of these Hexis left. Maybe I should have done some before the video. See, I didn't know how many of you guys would like want to do it with me, and I didn't want to like get ahead of you, so I left all of them for the video. But now I'm thinking, if lots of you guys are just watching, maybe I should have done some ahead of time, because it goes quickly. You just have to make a lot. All right, on to my next stack. So after I do this stack, I will just have my like blues right here to do. I want to make sure that they're all roughly like right on top of each other. And then I go through a lot of layers, and it makes it like if you can see like the fabric when I'm going, it makes the fabric kind of like bubble up, and then it's not like a super straight line. And I don't really care about that, but if you care about that, then you might want to do fewer layers. Would be the solution to that. Swim with whale sharks? Oh my gosh. See, that would be so scary for me. I don't know how scary it would be to actually see huge fish like that, but the idea that like I'm in the ocean, like up to here, and I have no idea what's around me, that scares the daylights out of me. That's why if I go in the ocean, it'll be very shallow. Even then, there's like little creatures that are in there. It's a little scary. You want to snorkel sometime? Yeah, I've heard that it's really fun. And since it's shallower and I'll be able to see everything, I'm like, okay, I can do that. That's fine. Jane, no worries. No worries. You take your time. This is a time-consuming process. You want to decide if you really want to tackle like a full-size quilt with this method, just because this is what you'll be doing the whole time. And then you have to hand stitch it all together. I feel like I've heard that there is a way to machine sew these together, but I haven't actually learned that yet. So I'm curious what that would be like, if you'd be able to see the stitches, or if there's, because normally what you would do is you would put these right sides together and you'd whip stitch one edge of it, like whip stitch this edge, and then you'd open it up and this would be together. So there's like no seam allowance. So I wonder if you're doing it on a machine, if there's a seam allowance, or maybe you're using like an edge joining foot and just, I don't know, I'm curious. Yeah, Maria, exactly. Too many creatures that could eat you and like sneak up on you. Like if I felt something in the ocean, I would probably freak out. So scuba diving could be different because then you can like see everything, but at the same time, I don't know if I want to see it. Like I saw this video of a boat, like it was like from the bird's eye, like from a drone or something, and there's this tiny boat and the water was moving under it, and then it zoomed out and you realized that it wasn't the water, it was like a whale that was like 100 times bigger than the like canoe, and that oh my gosh, no way. Heck no. That's very scary for me. But I have also always wanted to go parasailing, and I'm terrified of heights. So sometimes I want to do stuff that I'm afraid of still. So maybe they'll have parasailing. I don't know. Because I think it's not like terrifying like skydiving. It's probably like a ease you into the idea of skydiving because you're like in the sky, but you're not like falling. So. Robin, you're watching first because you're kind of slow. No worries. I'm curious how many of you guys will end up doing this. So this is our Thursday night sip and sews are still fairly new. And I want to hear from you guys, like how you feel like it's going. Like, would you prefer like YouTube tutorials? Because I could do more YouTube tutorials and not do this as often. Like, it doesn't have to be a weekly thing if you guys like that instead, because then it's like edited, it's a lot shorter. You're not here with me live, but you also don't have to like watch me do everything. I like cut all the boring stuff out. So that's an option. Or it's an option where I do a lot of prep work, and so I'm not doing the whole project live with you guys. So I don't know what you guys think, or if you're just like, hey, I'm sitting here sewing anyways, I'd rather, watch the live while I'm doing that. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, because I like doing this, but I'd be up for like switching up how it's done, and I want to hear what you guys like. Robin, okay, I'm glad you like it. Because sometimes I come on here just with like a tip or like a demo or something, but I might be doing more sew-alongs just because I'm going to be making this project anyway, so I might as well. It's something I like, so I might as well like come on here and talk to you guys while I do it. I always want to try this about foundation. Oh, good, Joy. Yeah, I was just talking, I don't know if you heard me, but I was just talking about how I want to try foundation paper piecing soon, so that, but my mom's the one that does a lot of that right now, so I might talk her into doing a Thursday sip and sew with you guys to do the foundation paper piecing. Maria, okay, don't mind if I pre-record some. I might switch it up. Like if I know I'm going to be out of town, I might just pre-record a couple and then I'll come back on here live. Like I'm trying to plan out how I'm going to do it the couple weeks leading up to, like the week leading up to my wedding and my honeymoon are 3 weeks in a row that I won't be doing this. So I might either pre-record it or skip one. I'm not sure. But I'm also trying to think about the Wednesday live, because I think like technically mom can do the video, but like we're both going to be busy that week. So maybe she could do it while I'm on my honeymoon, but she can't do it like the week before and the week of my wedding. So we'll see. We'll let you guys know if we have to switch things up for that. Cindy, you cut out the Mega Dream Bag today. Awesome. I'm excited for you to try it, see what you think. Marcia, okay, good. Glad to know. The papers are really cheap. Like, I think they're like, you could technically print them out and cut them yourself, but that would take a lot of time. And they're only like, I think they're less than $5 for a pack of 100. And so to me, that's worth it just from the time it saves you. So that's nice. Cindy, great question. What's the difference between English paper piecing and foundation paper piecing? So they're pretty different, vastly different techniques. The only thing that they both have is paper. And foundation paper piecing doesn't even have, doesn't usually use real paper. It has a special kind of foundation paper. So this is English. So it's basically where you have your shape, and there's other shapes too. I've only ever done it with hexagons, but it's basically where you have your shape and you wrap the fabric around it. So that's kind of how you create your precise points and everything, is by wrapping the fabric around paper. Foundation, I don't know how to describe this verbally, but you basically have a large piece of paper that's usually like printer paper size, like 8.5 by 11 or larger. Like I know some patterns use legal size paper or whatever. You can put it through the printer to actually get ink printed on it. Sometimes your pattern will come with it, but sometimes it just has like a page for you to copy, or if you get a PDF, you'll have to print it out there. And so it's a bigger piece of paper, and it has all these lines on it to create a design. And what it's really good for is if you have to do something that has lots of teensy tiny points and designs, like lots of little details or lots of like abstract geometric shapes that don't necessarily like piece together very well. That's what paper piecing is really good for. Oh, not that, this. And so you basically, it's hard to describe verbally, but you're sewing your fabric onto the paper, wrong side down onto the paper, and then you like sew a 1/4 inch seam, and then you flip it over. And you keep doing that until you have like all of these like layers of fabric building out to create this design. It's really interesting. So if you guys wanted to see, I have a tutorial on YouTube for that, that my mom did. But like I said, I might have her also come on here and do a sip and sew of it. I'll ask her if she'd like to do that sometime. Maybe I'll have her teach me on the sip and sew. That would be fun. Because there's some projects in that super cute paper piecing book that I really want to do, and we have some leftover kits from it. So maybe what we'll do is put some of those extra kits on the live, and you guys could grab one and then sew with us. There's I think the one I want to make is it's a little wristlet purse, and it has an apple on it, and the green fabric that we use for the apple is just so cute. Are we going to have any more in-person classes? Maria, I'm not planning on it. If I do, it's something that's always roaming in the back of my head, but I don't have any plans to. If I do right now, it would be very small classes for Quilting 101 to teach people the basics so that they can like get more into quilting. Because I find that is super easy to be right there looking, like watching their hands and their machine and helping them fix the problems like real time. It would be a lot harder to do virtually. And so for other classes, I'd like to do a lot of them like virtually, like here on the live or on YouTube tutorials and stuff. So if I ever did like this kind of thing, but in person, it would have to be like a pretty big thing to make it like worth it, the effort that goes into to planning classes and like the time and all that kind of stuff. It'd have to have a lot of people, and we don't currently have the space for it, so then I'd have to find a space to do it in and all that kind of stuff. So those are all the considerations that we're thinking about when considering doing in-person classes. Now, before I got engaged, I really wanted to plan a retreat that was like classes all day long for 2 days, which I would still love to do at some point, but I can't really plan that and a wedding. So maybe when I come back, I'll start planning something like that, maybe for the fall, or I don't know, we'll see. But I would love to I love teaching. And so that's not really the issue. It's more like the place and how many people and the materials that it takes to make like class kits and whatever. And so this is really helpful right now. I feel like it's a good way for you guys to be able to ask questions and for me to like teach new things. But it's a lot, and it's more accessible to all of our people that don't live nearby. But I know that nothing really replaces the in-person, so I'm always considering, would this be a good way to do that? Would this be a good way to do that? And I just haven't found something that makes sense for us yet. But just know I'm thinking about it. All right, I'm on my last stack of fabric. Let's get this done, and we'll take all of these papers out. Online guests for... Oh, a guest online for your wedding week. Yeah, I might have to have, like, I don't know. Because I was going to say, like, mom can do it, but that doesn't really help because it's our family that's you know, involved in all the wedding stuff. Bree could do it camera-wise. She's not afraid of the camera, but she doesn't sew. So she wouldn't be able to, she doesn't know the products as well. She knows what they're called, but she doesn't know what they're used for. I told her, we need to teach you how to sew. Barb, you want a Quilting 101 class? Usually what that looks like is it's, we make a pot holder. And so you go through the piecing, quilting, and binding process in 2 hours. And then I suggest that when you leave, you, like your next project is sewing a charm pack or a layer cake together. And then I'll teach everyone like the different ways that they could quilt it and whatever. And then after that, if people like it enough to sew a whole like charm pack or layer cake together to make a crib or a throw size quilt, and they get it quilted and they feel that accomplishment, they're hooked. But you never know if they'll like it enough to actually get through that part. But I feel like that's a good next step for beginners to do. A gift list for my wedding? Do you mean like my registry? I have a registry. Someone mentioned on Wednesday that I should live stream the wedding, and I thought that could be fun. I don't know, maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll have someone sit up in that front row and go live on my Facebook or something. Well, we are registered at Crate and Barrel, Target, and Amazon. Matthew Gall and Kelsey Pryor. I feel funny posting the link to that. But if you're curious, that's where we're registered. Okay, guys, I have 3 more left. Oh my gosh, I found this, came across this post on BuzzFeed the other day. It was like 18 most entitled brides, like what they did to their guests or whatever. I could not believe it. I could not believe it. It was like, I mean, each one just got worse. Like one of them was like, you will be turned away if you do not have a gift valued over $75 or more. And it's like something about how it like that doesn't include the sale price, and like, and you have to be wearing like this type of clothing, and you like also, and then one of them was like an email that the event planner sent out to all of the guests ahead of time with this list of rules, and it's like you can't wear any of these colors. Most important, don't talk to the bride, leave her alone. And it was like, and that one was like you have to. One of them was like donations. It's like if you donate $1,000 to $1,500, we'll write you a card. And if you donate up to $2,000, like it was like these astronomical donation like requests that they're making instead of the registry. And it's like $5,000 and we'll take you out to dinner. And I could not believe it that people would require that of their guests. That was so crazy. But it gave me a laugh. Cindy, I actually did. I was like, when I was thinking about my friends, you know, I have some of you guys that come into the shop like every week to pick up your stuff, and I know a little bit about what's going on in your life, and one of my customers is making my wedding cake. And so I was just like, I wish I had the space to invite like the people on the outskirts of my life too, not just like our really close friends. But our venue holds 320 people, and I have invited more than that, and I'm afraid too many people will come. Otherwise, we would have Matt has this like CrossFit instructor that he really likes, and I'm like, oh, that would have been fun. Like just all those types of people that like you see regularly, but you might not be like close with, and like you know that they would like to be there, but I don't know. So But yeah, the live stream idea, I like that. I'll figure out if I can do that, if I can have someone set up a camera or a phone or something. Okay, guys, I'm all done with that part. Okay, let's see here. Okay, these are the ones I've already done. I've already ripped the paper out. You do get a little bit of glue on your hands, so I'm just going to peel that off. I just got a manicure today, too. First manicure in a while. Not. If you're around this area, you might know about Ambiance Nail Salon. It's my favorite one. They have them everywhere. I've been to a couple of them. They're really nice. But that you can rent out private rooms for bridal parties. So I learned that today, and I thought I'm totally doing that. So I'm excited. Joy, this is a Soline glue pen. We also carry the Fons and Porter one. I think Fons and Porter is what we have in stock right now. They're both basically the same thing. They're water-soluble glue pens. I think they're both even the same price. Okay, so I have this pile of Hexis with papers in them, and now I need to loosen the glue. So I'm going to take like the blunt side of my seam ripper and take it corner to corner, loosening up that glue without like tearing the fabric or the paper, and it should be fine. There's a couple spots you might find that stick really well, but you can rip it up without like damaging anything. And then you're going to use this hole here to rip out your paper, and I'm actually going to let me bring this whole mat over. So this one is the only one that came undone. The rest of these are still glued together. So what I'm just going to do is I can still see the creases where it was folded. Fold that in place. And I've never seen instructions anywhere for English paper piecing that says to press it, but that just makes sense to me because then it makes those creases nice and sharp. So that's what I'm going to do. So I guess the thing between this and the base and the thread basting is that the thread basting, you have to take your stitches out, but this one you have to loosen the glue. So they both take a little bit of effort when it comes to like taking the paper out. So it just depends on which one you like more, I guess, which process you enjoy more. Pam, the hexes are 1-inch hexes, which means that the flat side is 1 inch. And then the fabric was 2.5-inch squares or a mini charm. This one, I'm actually going to see if this, oh no, that's enough. So if you don't have this hole, what you would have to do is like kind of open it up all the way to get one of those edges out and pull it out that way. But you could do, but do you see how that like, it just kind of messed it up a little bit? I'm going to re-glue this actually because that was rough. You want to be pretty gentle. So I'm glad I punched those holes because I remember that being a problem last time. So it still wasn't very hard to fix. I just had to like put a little bit of glue dot in each of those corners. And then do this. But then it holds its shape really well. You just want to be careful when taking the paper out that you can like find the shape again, basically. Okay. So this process is going to take, honestly, probably about as long as the gluing part. But this is why I said we probably won't get to the quilting like on camera today. I might still try to do it tonight, but I just feel like that's too long. So I'm going to do the quilting on my own, but I'll take all these out and then glue them in place with you guys, because I know not all of you are working on that pillow project anyways. I follow this girl on Instagram called Liz Taylor, and she just launched her YouTube channel today. And it was so funny because I went to her YouTube channel, she announced it, she just launched it, and her first videos were on English paper piecing, and I thought, this is perfect. I watched her videos just to see how she did it, and she does it just like me in both the glue and thread basting. But I just thought that was such funny timing. She launched it today, and I'm doing this today. It's an English paper piecing kind of day. Just scooching this under, and I'm like holding onto, sorry, I'm just noticed that I'm holding onto like the point here as I drag my seam ripper along the edge. I'm trying to get the seam ripper as close to the edge like this one as possible, just because sometimes there's glue there. See, this part stuck a little bit more than the others. Trying to be careful with it so I don't rip a hole in the fabric. There we go. Oh, this one I got really good. I'm trying to do that. There we go. So I honestly don't know if I would make a whole grandmother's flower garden like this. I know that people do it. I know it's possible. I know it's what it's used for, but I don't know if I would, just because it's just a lot, and then you have to like hand stitch all of these together. Like I said, I like my hand projects, but that feels like a little too much maybe. My mom made a grandmother's flower garden quilt for like while she was pregnant with me. She made it. Oh wow, this one 3 corners came undone. And it's really cute, but she had to like cut it all out by cardboard, like templates, and this one's all janky. I feel like every now and then you'll come across one that you just didn't hold as well. And I wonder if that happens as much with the thread basting, if they're both kind of the same, or if like the thread is a little bit better for that reason. Be interested to hear from people who do the thread more often, because I saw how much time it took on the front end and was like, no thank you. Yeah, it is beautiful, Robin. I do think it's gorgeous. I would make a grandmother's flower garden. I'm just trying to think of the way that I would do it. Would I want to cut out each hexagon, or would I want to do it like this? Because either way, that's going to take a lot of time cutting out all those hexes or English paper piecing all of them. So I guess either way, you're stuck with a lot of steps. If I did it, it would be a much smaller, it would be a very small quilt. That one held really nicely. I'm going to try to sort these into piles by color, because I think that's how they'll go on the pillow, is by color. Just sort those real quick. Yellow and white and black. Okay. This is going to go on the couch that I bought when I moved into my apartment in Cincinnati at the beginning of last year, and it has been a year since I moved over there. I don't know if any of you guys were around when I did my big move. That was my first time like moving out of the house. But since then, I've also lived in Chicago, and now I'm getting ready to move in with my soon-to-be husband, so it feels like forever ago that I did that. But I have a nice couch from when I did that, and this is going to go on that. Well, Mary Ellen, I'm not going to be sewing these together. These are all going to go on the pillow. They're all going to be spaced out and then quilted down. So I'm not actually sewing these together. But what you would do is put these here, come up, put your needle through here to come up in like a corner, pull it through, and then whip stitch it, and then make a knot at this one so that you open it and it looks like that. And I think you take the paper out before you do that too. But I actually haven't done that, and so I don't want to pretend like I know what I'm doing. Because both of the projects I've done English paper piecing for, I have spaced them out and quilted them down. I haven't actually sewn them all together. So I'm not an authority on that part of the process. Honestly, I'm not even an authority on this part of the process, but I have done it before, so. Karen, it might be personal preference, but I do know that you might leave the papers in for sewing two of them together. But by the time you are, let me think about that. By the time you're sewing like your third one on, right? So you have to sew it onto here. You would put these two right sides together, and then you'd open it up. And then you'd have to fold this one in half this way. So I guess you could do it. You would just have to, you'd be folding your paper in half, which would be fine. So if you leave your papers in, that's how you would do it. I feel like that would make sense to leave your papers in because it's keeping its shape until after it's sewn together. But you would just have to be really careful not to catch your paper in your stitches. See, this one held together really well. Can you guys tell all of the like points are still glued together? I just have to press it, give it a quick press. So I suppose if you're doing that, then this part of the process is a little less tedious because your edges are already sewn together, and so you don't have to worry about misforming or misshaping the hexagon when you take your paper out. So that would make sense. But like I said, I haven't done a project that you actually sew them together yet for, so I don't know. Next EPP project might have to be that just so I can try it. I don't know how many of you guys know this, but my brother has been gone for almost 6 months, and it's been very hard, but he's having a great time. And he's coming home earlier than we thought, and I am so excited. So he'll be home in like 2.5, 3 weeks. We thought he wouldn't be back till the end of March, and he's coming back at the beginning of March, and we're all so excited. If you were on the live when my mom talked about that, she started crying when she was saying goodbye to him on the live. But we're all very excited for him to come home. But that's where my parents were last week, was visiting him. So I was gone in Chicago, and he was gone in San Francisco, and I'm the oldest, and he's the second oldest. So we're all kind of spreading out and then coming home and then spreading out and then coming home. So it's a crazy time of life. Yeah, Robin, it's YWAM. Yes, Youth with a Mission is what it stands for. It's a mission trip organization. So you spend 3 months in training at Bible school, basically, and then 3 months on outreach, like on a mission trip. So that's where he's been, and it's been so amazing. He's doing so well. So quick life update for him. We're all very proud of him. But it is weird just because it's the first time he's ever left, and it was for such a long time. So my parents are lucky they've gotten to see him twice since he's been gone. They've gone to visit him twice. And 2 of my sisters went to visit him last week with my parents. But I haven't seen him. I actually haven't seen him in over 6 months because I had already gone to Chicago by the time he left. So it's been like maybe even like 7 months by the time he gets back, which has never happened before. Okay, this one's a little janky. Let's see here. How can we fix this? I picked a background fabric that's not white because some of these fabrics are white and I wanted to be able to still use them. So hopefully they look good on my light gray background fabric. Your good friend's son did YWAM. Oh, that's so cool. He's in Australia. That's so far. I'm very glad my brother didn't get placed in Australia. He got placed in San Francisco, which they don't actually do outreach in the States very often. So he was fully expecting to go overseas, and he got placed in California, and at first was kind of disappointed. But he's like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to go. I'll go here. He's very like, once he sets his mind to something, he can really get himself excited about it. And so he's there, and he is like so glad he's there. He has met all the right people. He's learned so much, and he might be going back after. We're not sure yet, but there's some opportunities for him there. And so I'm really glad that he found opportunities within the States and not in a different country selfishly. I'm very glad, because that would just be a lot harder to visit him. I think Cincinnati has a direct flight to San Francisco. I think that's my, oh no, wait, it doesn't. My parents had a layover in Chicago. Couldn't remember. You guys are troopers for sticking with me through this. I know it's a very repetitive process. But if you are sewing with me at all, or if anyone is in the future going to watch this and sew with me, then I can keep you company while you do this very repetitive process. Uh-oh, this one is going to be janky. See this? Okay, so I am beginning to believe you do sew this together before you take out the papers, because that would make it a lot easier. So you really only have to do this if you're doing it like this project, where you're going to be like quilting it in place separately and not piecing it together. So I guess that makes sense. Jane's gluing along with me. I know, today's more like a glue along this, so never thought you'd glue this much for projects. The liquid stitch, the permanent glue that we're using today, I'm excited to try because, I mean, I did a little sample piece, but I've never really used it before besides that. Because I don't know if you guys have ever seen like some like BuzzFeed or Craftsy videos or whatever. They'll have like sewing projects, like pillows or whatever, but they'll use liquid stitch or permanent glue instead of sewing it together. Like for the full pillow, like the seams and everything, they'll just stitch it together. Probably because they assume people don't know how to use a sewing machine. And that use of permanent glue makes me sad because I'm like, you should at least know how to use a sewing machine. But if it holds up, I was thinking it must be pretty strong if it holds up that well to be like the actual seam of the project. So we'll see. I mean, we are going to still be quilting it in place, so it's not going to be the only thing holding it down. But doing my sample seemed like it's pretty strong glue. Liquid stitch is a smart name for it too. It's cute. How do you get the paper out if you sew it together? Well, that's why you have the little hole in there, so that you would basically do the same thing that we're doing here, except these edges would already be sewn to something else. So once these are together, if these were all sewn together, then you would just go through and still loosen the glue then and pull out the papers, but then when you're done, instead of having a hexagon, you'd have like the whole flower. But again, I haven't actually done it, so I don't know for sure if you take it out before or after. I'm just thinking it would make sense if you took it out after. You use the glue to keep the pincushions closed. Wow, so does it keep like what do you use to stuff your pincushions? Do you just use stuffing, or do you use walnut seeds? Or, I mean, crushed walnuts? Walnut seeds. No. Because I feel like with the crushed walnuts, I would be afraid, like that's what mine is filled with, is crushed walnuts, because it helps sharpen the pins when you put it back in there. But stuffing, it would make sense. I'd be impressed if the crushed walnuts stayed in there. Stuffing, okay. I'll have to, if you ever try it with the crushed walnuts, let me know if that like keeps it closed without any of the walnuts coming out, because that would be great. Or not coming out, but like bursting the seam. So my sister is really into dance. And we were just talking the other night that she should learn a dance to do at my wedding. Like just during the dance party time. I was like, that would be so fun. I met with my videographer today and I told him she might be doing that, and I was like, just be ready, because if she does, I will definitely want that captured. I think that would be so fun. Okay, awesome, Robin. Sounds good. Guys, so close. So close. I always get so sleepy at the end of these. Probably just because I'm talking so much. My mom said, well, if anyone can keep a one-sided conversation going for 2 hours, it would be you. But I feel like I was more like that as a kid, and I've gotten a little less like that as an adult, at least all the time. Like, I can still be like that, but if I'm actually talking to someone, I'm not the only one talking. But as a kid, I think I definitely was. So my mom had to teach me, like, okay, when you talk, make sure you also ask questions. You don't just talk the whole time. Make sure you ask about the other person about X, Y, Z, and whatever. So that was like a conscious effort I had to make at one point, which I just think is so funny to think about. Okay, last two. Oh my gosh. Something just shook the house. I feel like it was the... Okay. This is my last one, and then we will map out the design on the fabric, the background fabric, and glue it down, and then I will piece out for the evening. I have some wedding shopping to do tomorrow. We're going to go to some thrift stores to get some vases. Hopefully, if we can find some like mismatched bud vases for our centerpieces. So I'm excited about that. Okay, let me just switch you over real quick while okay, this is my third time around on these papers, so I'm going to throw these ones away, but I still have this giant bag left. So you can reuse these as often as you want, or as many times as you want. Get the rest of this stuff off of my mat because I don't have the wax paper that I told you guys to have. I disobeyed my own instructions. Happens sometimes. So I'm going to take this cutting mat off and then glue these down. All right. Okay. Real quick, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this paper, or this fabric in half twice to find the center, and I'm going to very lightly press that so I can see where my center is. So, just make sure that I can see that. Okay. You can see the little cross that made there. This is solid, so it doesn't have really a right or a wrong side, but if your fabric does have a right or wrong side, you want your right side facing up. And then let me make this a little taller. Oh, okay. All right. I think we're good. Over here. All right, so here is my fabric and here's my center. Now, according to these instructions, let me just make sure you do it right. We're going to place them. This middle one is going to have 5. So the middle one is going to be here, and then it'll be 2 above and 2 under. And it'll be 4, 5, 4, 5, 4, 5, 4, 5. You can either do it like this, or they have other instructions how to lay it out like the flowers, but I want to do it with the lines. So, yeah, so it has you just lay them all out how you want it and then glue them down. Pretty straightforward. Okay, It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rows. So let's see, I have my white 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have 7 different colors, so 2 of them are going to have to repeat. So let me see what I have the most of. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's going to have to be a 5 row. Oh wait, 5, 6, 7, 8. I actually have 8 whites. So what I might do is do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the white, and then maybe I'll pick these busier whites to be together, and then these like lighter whites will be 1, and then these busier whites with a gray will be another. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this will be a 5. We have 5, 5, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, another 5, and then we have 3 for this green one. Okay, so let's see how we want to do this. Because I have, these will be my remainders. I have 4 pink, so those will be a 4 row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm going to pick one of these 2 black and white ones to go with a black and white row. So these 4 will be a 4 row. And then these will be 1, and then these will be another 1. And then, let's see here, I have 3 left over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Also, I just realized that I thought I only used up 1 hexagon on this sample, but I'm so dumb. I used up 2 because I used up the background too, so I will be 1 short. I'll have to make that up later. So, okay, I think I want this blue one as my center. So I'm going to lay this out first. Let's do this little owl in the middle. The sun and the flowers. Nope, let's do the stars. And I will lay this out very precisely when I am gluing it. There we go. When I'm gluing it, but for now I want to know like about where they'll be and make sure that I have enough. Okay, let's do a pink one. I don't want any of my same prints to touch. That's one thing I'm thinking about. Let's do yellow. If I can help it, see this little rabbit one will have to touch something, so there's that. Let's do this one next. We'll just see how it goes. These little owl ones are so cute. Okay, I want to put these together there. Okay, what's happening is I'm noticing all my colors over here and all of my black and whites over here. Do I want to do that? Do I want it to kind of fade, or do I want to break it up a little bit? I feel like I want to break it up a little bit, so I'm just going to move this gray and make the gray and yellow switch spots. Make sure you give yourself time to lay this all out. Make sure you're going to like it. Okay, I like that better. Okay, so then I have, what do I have left? I have 2 groups of 4. Oh wait, here I have a 5 as well. So let me put my 5, this 5 over here. 4, put this one over here. So these aren't the exact same. And then this 4. Okay, so then over here I will have this, and I will have to create 1 extra because I'm 1 short. But I can do that later. So I'm looking at it from afar. I think I like it. Okay. So actually, you know what I might do? If this glue doesn't come, yeah, this glue literally doesn't come off even if I try. Would it be horrible if I like just trim this square around here? Let's see what it would look like. I can make it look like it's not there. Sorry guys, you're watching me fix one of my mistakes. Okay, I can make that look like it's not there. Now I just have to decide if I like this yellow right in the middle. Maybe I'll switch it with this yellow because this has more gray in it. Yeah, that's better. Let's just move that here. Nope, here. Okay. All right, I like this. So I'm going to start with this center one, and this is when I'm going to make sure that I am lining this up precisely because as I just learned, this glue does not come undone very easily. So I just want to put a little bit, I don't know how to show this to you guys. I'll just do it here, but very carefully. See if I can do this. Put a little line on the edge. Here, here. And because we're also quilting it, I don't want to feel like that it has to be the most secure thing in the world because it's not going to be the only thing holding it down. So like, it's not a perfect line, but I think that's going to be okay. Sure. I want these points to line up with these. So the crosshairs of like where I've made crease lines, I'm lining up these points with that, and then I am lining it up halfway here so that the line is cutting through half of this. Okay. So I have that one down. I'm gonna go ahead and do the rest of this line very carefully. You don't really get a second chance with this one, so hopefully it goes well. Bye, Maria. Thanks, Joy. Those of you who are sticking around, I'm impressed. I would not blame you if you left and just came back after the live to skim through it. That's probably what I would do. Okay. So I'm going to do my best to make sure that these are all evenly spaced out with one another. Okay, do this top one. Okay, this is making me nervous, but it's okay. We got this. I'm just trying to think, like, if there's a way to get this off if I make a mistake. The stitching, you can always rip it out, but this glue seemed like it likes to stay on there. Make sure this is, sorry I'm blocking it, the same distance. Okay. Alright. Nice. Let's get this whole row on, and then I might just do the rest off camera because I don't want to bore you guys to death, but I'll just finish getting this row on. No, you space them out. Well, Robin, that's how the pattern has it. If you don't like it like that, you don't have to do that. But that's how this pillow pattern does it. Okay. Bottom one is my last one. Oh. Marianne, I'll show you in a second. Okay. There we go. So that blue line in the middle is the only one that's glued down right now. So you want to be sure that you like that one because that's what the rest of it's going to be based off of. But this is what the pattern looks like. It's called the Hexy Pillow. And they also have a layout version if you like it like this. Jane, yeah, I'm putting it around all the edges. That's what the pattern says to do. And it's probably smart. What you're going to do when you're quilting is you're going to draw lines. If you have the pattern, it has like the line. Let me see. So you're going to draw lines horizontally and diagonally in both directions so that you are tacking it in place like through each point basically is what you're doing. So you'll go horizontally here and then diagonally as well. So Awesome, Cindy. I'm glad. Looking for something to do while sitting in the car. Yeah, so you could do, I think the stitching one might be a little easier to do in the car, or you could, do you mean you're going to quilt it by hand? Is that what you mean? Yeah, so as I'm putting this together too, what I'm thinking I might do, you're supposed to draw all of your quilting lines on after you glue all your hexes down, but I might do it before so that I make sure all the points are lined up according to the stitch lines. Because what I just realized is if one of my points doesn't match up, then my quilting lines will go off the point. If my line is straight and my hexagon's not, it won't go point to point. So what I might do is take a break from gluing and draw all those lines on. And so the hexagon would be covering up a portion of the line, but then you could always redraw it on top or then just eyeball it from corner to corner. Something like that. I think I might do that. So I'll let you guys know how it turns out if I do. But I think I'm going to go ahead and end the live. It's been 2 hours. If you've been here a majority of the time or all the time, thanks for sticking with me. I know that was repetitive, but I hope it was helpful and inspired you guys to start English paper piecing project. These patterns did sell out, but I will be getting more in. So if you would like to get one of these patterns, just send me a message and I'll let you know as soon as it's back in stock. I think everything else, the water-soluble glue, the liquid stitch, the mini rotating cutting mat, all kinds of mini charms, those are all in stock. So if you want anything, let me know. Happy to hook you up. Yeah, no problem, Cindy and Robin. Loved having you guys here with me tonight. I will let you guys, so next week is actually our Bag Lady Club. So if you're local, make sure that you're signed up for the Bag Lady Club if you want to come in and shop next week. But there won't be like a project we're working on. Instead, I'll just do a quick little live video around our store. Maybe I'll do like a shop tour or something like that while customers are shopping. I don't know. I'll figure it out. I'll let you guys know what we end up doing because I'll be at the shop with customers from 7 to 9, and this is usually at 7:30. So I might do something like that. It might be crazy busy. So, well, the time next week might differ. I'll post an announcement if it does. I might have to post it either before customers come in or it might have to be pre-recorded. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how many people to expect. So, we'll see, but I will have something for you guys next week, whether it is pre-recorded or it's live. It'll probably be around the shop, like a little tour. So if you guys are not local, then you guys will get a glimpse around our store. But thank you so much for watching this live. And if you guys end up making this project or any other project with your English paper pieces, I would love to see them. Make sure that you are in our Just Sew Along Facebook group, and then you can post pictures of all of your recent projects. You can go see other people's recent projects. I find it's a very encouraging place to have somewhere to share what you've been working on that people actually appreciate and enjoy. So thanks so much for joining me, and I will see you guys at another live. Bye.